Good day, everyone. Welcome to my channel. This is Amazing Mrs. Mags. I hope you have brought your gym clothes because we are going to exercise our brains with a little bit of math. Today we're going to learn about indices. With indices, it might sound daunting, it might sound difficult, but if we know the rules of indices, just like going to the gym and exercising a specific muscle, we need to understand how to do this equation or how to do this rule in order for our brains to be getting a workout. So we start at the basics. We need to know what these words mean. Okay, so the first word that we need to know is index. What is an index? An index means how many times a number is multiplied by itself. Okay, so that's what an index means. Now, if we look at an index, what does an index look like? An index is this number over here. That is an index. Okay, so that number over there is an index. Okay, so this number says that 5 is multiplied by itself 3 times, which means we now can write it in a long version of 5 multiplied by 5 multiplied by 5 equals 2. So 5 times 5 equals to 25, and 25 times 5 gives us 125. But instead of writing this long equation, we can just write 5 to the power, we can just write, sorry about this, 5 to the power of 3 equals to 125. Okay, as easy as that. And that is what indices are. So an index means how many times a number is multiplied by itself. Another word that we need to understand is the base number. So what is the base? The base is a number that is being multiplied. And you guessed it, that would be the 5. Okay, so the 5 would be the number that is being multiplied, which means this is the base. Okay, now when we're working with indices, we have quite a few rules that we need to follow in order to be able to solve the equations. Okay, so the first rule that we need to know, and believe me, I know it will seem daunting because there is letters in math where there's not supposed to be letters, and it's difficult to solve math when there's letters. But these letters mean any number. If it's the same letter, then it means the same number. So our first rule is a to the power of m multiplied by a to the power of n equals to a m plus n, which means we just add the index. That's our first rule. We need to just add the index. Okay, and remember, the index is the m and the n. The base stays the same. Now, if we look for an example, if we have 2 to the power of 3 multiplied by 2 to the power of 5, first rule that we need to double check, make sure our bases are the same. Yes, our bases are the same. Then we can follow this rule, which means we can then say, sorry, my color didn't change there. We can then say equals to 2 to the power of 3 plus 5, which means it's equals to 2 to the power of 8. And that is as easy as that. We don't have to go do 2 times 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 2, and then count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We don't have to go do that. We can just do this simple equation. Okay, our following rule states that a, again, our bases are the same, né? A to the power of m divided by a to the power of n equals to a to the power of m minus n. So we subtract the index. We only need to subtract the index. Let's look at an example. So if we have 4 to the power of 8 divided by 4 to the power of 2 equals to. Now again, we need to make sure that our bases are the same. The base must be the same. If the base is the same, then we can solve the equation, which means it's 4 to the power of 8 minus 2 equals to 4 to the power of 6. Okay, so this is as easy as that. That's why we have these rules. Okay, so our second last rule that we need to know about indices is when we are multiplying the base. When we have a to the power of m bracket to the power of n, which means those two indices will have to multiply. We have a m times n. So we multiply the index. As easy as that. Okay, so let's do an example. Let's say we have 3 to the power of 2 to the power of 3 equals to, which means we now know that the 3 is the same base. You see there? Only has to have one base there. Okay, we can already change it into the next equation. So 3 to the power of 2 multiplied by 3 would give us 3 to the power of 6. And it's as easy as that. Now our last rule is an automatic rule that when we see it, we will automatically know what the answer is. And that is when a is to the power of 0. Then it would be equal to 1. Always. Okay, so when we have an example, like we say 2 to the power of 0, then it would be equal to 1. If we say 1,000,000 equal to the power of 0, it would still be equal to 1. Okay. So I hope you understand what we have done today. I hope you feel that you understand the word indices a little bit better. And remember to memorize your rules, because just like we need to memorize the way that we need to exercise in a gym, we need to memorize the way that we need to do our math in order for it to become easier. Hope to see you again. Goodbye.